I can begin preparing the utensils and such. I'll leave the front door unlocked, so feel free to let yourself in when you're ready. I don't know what that means unless it means mise en place, and that's just your prep work before you actually start cooking. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony. Today we're hopping back into our life, so without further ado, let's hop in. The rest of the drive kept the secret party planning ball rolling. You listened closely while Terry and Baxter took turns offering suggestions of what you needed to track down at the store. Oh man. When you arrived, the three of you entered the store fully focused on the mission, though you felt underprepared standing in the entrance and scanning all the cluttered store in front of you. Shelves were piled with miscellaneous goods, and there were a strong smell wafting in the air. It was like a mix of paint and scented something, maybe pine cone? Curling your fingers into a fist, you steeled yourself for the task. It was going to be way too easy at last with the endless sea of bits and bobs calling to you. The secret party planning team couldn't fail now.
Woo!
Come on, there's no time to waste. Terry took the lead, claiming a shopping cart and picking a direction. She pushed ahead while you followed at Baxter's pace. It wasn't long before she was combing through piles of knickknacks. Her fiery determination to make this birthday the best it could be was admirable, and you were resolved to match it. Your group traveled down several aisles, picking a variety of supplies had been decided on during the drive. The right-shaped cups, plastic forks, spoons resembled proper silverware, and the rest of the basics. You picked some shiny tablecloths to replace the old checkered ones, and Terry found a few platters to serve dessert on. Next on the agenda was to locate where you needed to prepare the desserts. Before you could do any of that, Terry stopped in her tracks and pointed. Oh, look! Craning your head, you scanned the area until you landed on what she was seeing. There in the distance was a dozen feather boas hanging over a row of long hooks. They were fluffy and came in several brightly saturated colors. Grinning wide, Terry raced to the display and flung a ton of them into the cart. It was anyone's guess how many would be needed for tomorrow, and since there were only a couple dollars each, Terry was sticking with the old tried-and-true method. Better safe than sorry. Eventually, her looting uncovered a single, pure white boa. You instantly knew you needed that boa. It was perfect for Baxter, who avoided it. Need it. You grabbed it mindfully not to crush the delicate feathers. They were soft against your skin while you examined them for any hidden splotches of color. Luckily, the feathers were immaculate, and so you added the boa to the growing pile on the cart. It soon became lost in the sea of rainbow. Once Terry was satisfied, she stared at the cart. Everything that you'd selected before was buried under a pile of boas, and there was a lot more shopping to do. Maybe we should get a second cart.
I can do that.
I couldn't agree more. You two can go to the cake decorating aisle, and I'll meet you there. Thanks, Beanban. Terry hurried to the end of the aisle and paused there, glancing at back. Terry sent him off with a playful salute and then answered with a wave. Don't get lost, we'll miss you. I'll try my best. After that, you and Terry ended up getting a bit turned around, but at long last, you found the aisle with the cake decorating supplies. Terry drove the cart back and forth, anxiously scanning the selection. So, what desserts are we gonna have? There should be a cake, but what kind? But that can't be all, right? What about cupcakes? Randy loves cupcakes. She does. We gotta make a whole bunch now. Yeah. Terry mumbled contemplatively to herself, leaning against the carriage. She nodded once and then again. I'll try it. No, I must do it. Hold on, when are you gonna have time to make 2 desserts? Tonight after all the shopping, or tomorrow the entire room needs to be decorated? I can squeeze it in somewhere. I don't think so. They'll never get done. You'll make the cake and I'll take care of the cupcakes.
Really?
Really, thanks, buddy. Terry dabbled an invisible tear from her eye and then placed a hand across her heart. No one could ask for a more loyal cohort. I'm glad to do it. I can't let you get all the glory. Of course, you don't need to do it all by yourself. It's not only me. Baxter's pretty liable too. He smiled at her. Don't need to do it all yourself. Terry's mouth wobbled as her eyes grew shiny.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alright, so I've been thinking about making a confetti cake with vanilla frosting. Could you make chocolate cupcakes with cheesecake frosting and then make it all look pretty too? I got it. You added a thumbs up and Terry excitedly pumped her fist.
Hell yeah!
This is going to be a great party. With renewed enthusiasm, Terry picked out a couple containers of gold and silver shimmer dust for the treats and a packet of edible jewels and decorative stars. Terry reached up and snagged a big 19-shaped candle to go on top of the cake. Her arms were rapidly getting full and just in time.
Hello.
There you are. I've been searching for you two. He wheeled the new cart over, but it wasn't empty. Sitting comfortably inside was a boxed chocolate fountain and a pack of wooden skewers and a big bag of melting chocolate wafers to be used with it. Ooh. Terry leaned into the cart and examined the advertised features printed on the box. Some of the packets she was holding onto fell from her grasp and tumbled with a clang. This is a good brand. It's not too loud. The music should cover the noise it does make, though.
Sure.
Works for me. Terry released the remaining things she was carrying into the carriage. They rained out onto the unsuspecting fountain. You placed what you had inside the next. Baxter studied everything you'd picked out while he was gone. You have excellent taste. Those decorations are fantastic. Thanks, my cupcakes are going to be almost too nice to eat. A feast for the eyes, then. Yeah, we got this in the bag. As you passed through more parts of the store, the three of you grabbed a few other last-minute odds and ends. Some were along the way. Terry found a sash that said birthday girl. She eagerly snatched it up and threw it across the pile of feather boas. You pointed out some oversized sunglasses next. Oh, good catch.
Very nifty.
Those totally fit the vibe. Nodding, you tossed a handful into the cart. From there, your team circled to the premise for a little while before deciding to check out and get your haul home. The register area you discovered wasn't built anything like one at the supermarket. There wasn't a long conveyor belt to put stuff on, only a short counter
I
space.
apologize.
Sorry, this will be one moment. You flashed the cashier an apologetic smile, and you two got to work piling up a dozen of party supplies from 2 full carts. Not one piece was particularly pricey, but with the amount of stuff you gathered, the total was skyrocketing. Even with the contributions from friends and family as a combination gift, it was going to be a close call. Terry's lips twitched as he tried not to frown. The display price grew higher and higher. There was still a mountain of things on the counter. Baxter stared at Terry and his brow furrowed. He then reached over and plucked away a chocolate fountain box and the skewers in the packet of chocolate. No, I want that. Don't worry about it. I'm going to buy this part myself. But it's not necessarily supplies that you were anticipating you'd buy. And it was my bright idea on top of everything. I'll cover it. My treat. Rather, my gift for Miranda's birthday. I can't say no to that. Thank you so much. He gave her a please nod and then went to the end of the line carrying the box under his arm. Baxter managed to get through the line, stop at a different register, complete his purchase well before you and Terry were through. He waited awkwardly off to the side of the checkout area with his bag. After the poor cashier dug themselves out of a pile of sparkly and feathery goods, you caught up with him and the 2 carts neatly packed with bags. As you were leaving, a voice-over announcement of the store opened for another 30 minutes. Terry glanced at the overhead speaker in shock.
Oh.
Wow, I knew we were here a while, but not
It's
that long.
settled.
I'd say it was a successful trip. This was a massive success. Yeah, it was worth it. Your party planning committee exited the store and made your way to the parking lot together, and you had filled the trunk part of the back seat. We'll take the carts back. Yeah, we got it. I'll stay put here then. Baxter leaned against the door as you rolled away. The sky was dark, and the night air felt invigorating after being in the stuffy, over-scented store. There was an added pep in your step now that you weren't weighted down by party supplies. Terry shot you a mischievous grin and then raced past across the pavement. Chased after you, pushed the cart faster before jumping on the back and riding it, dashed ahead to be heard to the storefront, followed behind crazy antics. Leaning forward, you made sure to keep yourself balanced on the empty cart. Your smile grew, feeling a cool breeze against your skin. You then returned the cart together. Baxter stood up and smoothed his shirt before opening the door. Welcome back. You squeezed into the car and let your eyes feast on the fruits of afternoon's labor. Terry hopped into the front again. Terry finished her phone out and messaged her parents that she was ready for them to pick her up. She explained that if they left now, then her mom and dad would be at your house by the time the 3 of you returned. After that, you simply needed to enjoy the comfortable, quiet ride in the neighborhood. All that shopping ended up being more exhausting than any of you anticipated. After a brief and uneventful drive through the sleepy streets, you arrived home to find the van parked outside. You approached and you recognized the shades of green paint, the characteristic dent in the rear fender. Terry leaned out the window and hollered cheerily. All right, you made it. A wave from the driver's side window. It was Terry's parents come to pick her up as planned. This is great. We can take most of the stuff home in the van. Terry jerked a thumb towards the pile of party paraphernalia perched precariously in the back of the car.
Woo!
I figured it can stay there until tomorrow. My old folks said we could borrow the van to take everything to the party venue anyway. It's like we planned it or something. Baxter silently nodded, pulling up alongside Terry's parents.
Is that fine?
Well, since we're transferring the supplies from one vehicle to another, we might as well minimize the distance. Terry, would you mind? He gestured towards the rear of the van. Terry nodded and hopped out to let her mom know it was safe to pop the trunk. While you left your seat, Baxter opened up his own car, then gave Terry's mom and dad a friendly wave. Thus began the daunting task of unloading. Terry's parents noticed how much stuff you ended up bringing back, and soon they were also lending a hand. With all 5 of you, the seemingly endless stack of party goods was defeated in a few short minutes. I think that's the last of it. Many hands truly do make light work. You let out a sigh of relief, stretching your arms. They'd gotten sore from all the heavy lifting in spite of the help. Bow down before the awesome and terrible power of teamwork. Terry wasn't even remotely out of breath. She could do the whole thing over again without breaking a sweat. You counted yourself lucky she didn't threaten to do just that. Her sense of humor could be wild sometimes. Baxter leaned against the closed rear door of the van, casually addressing Terry and her parents. Are you fine people heading home now? It's getting late. Trio of sending noises followed.
Yeah.
Yep, we've got everything for tomorrow. Oh, hold on a sec. She marched over to where you stood and planted your feet in the sidewalk. With intent, she stood to attention as though suddenly in the middle of a military parade. You could see that she had an object clutched in her right hand that was difficult to make out in the dust. She must have taken it out of one of the shopping bags from earlier. As soon as I get home, the next stage of our mission commences. Don't worry about me, though. It'll be... Here it comes. A piece of cake. She lifted one of your hands and held on into it. 3 shimmering cylinders of confectionery glitter. Of course, there was still work to be done tonight. Baking. You were rearing to go. You were honestly starting to feel worn down. It was a thrill to keep your eyes open. We're gonna go. You clutched the little plastic tubes of glitter tightly, giving Terry enthusiastic mock salute. Aye, aye, Captain. Good luck and see you tomorrow.
See you later.
I'll swing by to pick you guys up at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, okay? Party starts at noon, and we're gonna need all the time we can get. With a skip and a jump, Terry was already clambering into her parents' van, and she waved enthusiastically as the sliding door closed. After retreating to a safe distance, you and Baxter watched the van pull out and ahead off up the street. It was surprising it could move anymore with all that extra weight. The glow of the headlights grew distant and then faded into the night like a late summer dream. Suddenly you thought again about how fragile and fleeting your time in Sunset Bird was, and how last season with your friends would vanish, never to return. You had to make this party a success. You knew in your bones, for Miranda, for Terry, for Cove too, and for everyone else in attendance, for yourself. This party would be a celebration of Miranda, yes, but would also be a celebration for your friendship and each other. A brief instant of clarity before all things became uncertain. You had to make it count. It was all quiet for a pause, then Baxter spoke. I understand that there's one more job left to take care of then. He nodded down at the clear containers you were still clutching in your hand. Yep, still gotta take care of some stuff. I'll get some sleep eventually.
To be honest...
Well, I can't say I'm surprised you aren't finished. So I'll order arrange an event in short notice. Not that I'm criticizing your attempt in the slightest. It's honestly admirable to see the commitment. But I'm getting off topic. What's next on the agenda? You explained to Baxter the situation with the party food. You volunteered to make chocolate cupcakes with cheesecake frosting, while Terry would do the real birthday cake. It was relatively simple order, at least. No last-minute meringues for Miranda. She had survived the disappointment. The edible fox metallic glitter that Terry handed you was to be the final layer of decoration, touch of pizzazz that would transform the basic cupcakes into something more to theme. Baxter touched a hand to his mouth and nodded in agreement as you explained. Of course, in pleasing appearance, it's hardly the most critical factor. A poorly baked dessert would still taste bad, no matter how it looked, but flair can help elevate things beyond itself. I suppose you could say it's the icing on the cake. Baxter coughed quietly into his fist as though to muffle a laugh. Terry had been rubbing off on him clearly. Regardless, that sounds to be a marvelous idea, though slightly less marvelous given how tight the schedule is getting. It's getting late. There was no denying that his thoughtful expression was obscured by the darkness around both of you. Here's what I suggest. Why don't you come over to my house to do it? I can give you a hand with the preparations if you think it'll be any use. For how often and how readily Baxter always offered his services, you shouldn't have been taken aback by his latest gesture, and yet you still found yourself wondering why. Baxter had clearly anticipated your reaction, cutting off the question before he'd asked. He'd made a gesture as if he was looking at his wristwatch, though of course he didn't wear one. It's nearly 10 p.m. Your family won't exactly thank you for baking this late at night. The noise is one thing, the smell will be another matter. And besides, your fridge might not have enough free space. Leaving the cakes out all night might spoil them. The fridge in my condo is, well, there's plenty of room. Baxter's dictation had gained a faint, quivering edge, like he was skirting around a nervous giggle. It's empty, in fact. I have a conveniently empty fridge and a conveniently empty house.
Perfect.
Perfect, wouldn't you say? When he put it in those terms, it made total sense. Baxter sure did have a lot of foresight when it came to these things. It was impressive he always thought that far ahead. He agreed it was an opportune set of circumstances, but he talked about how empty his temporary home was, and it struck you that Baxter sounded a little sad. He must be quite all alone in that house. Maybe that's why he was always so willing to come spend time with you or the other people he knew around here. All right, so long as you promise not to sneak a bite of any of the cupcakes before tomorrow. I wouldn't dream of it. Scout's honor. You couldn't think of anyone on Earth less likely to have been a Boy Scout than Baxter, but you reasoned that Scout's honor was a universal sort of concept, like a 5-second rule. Then you're in. Baxter clapped his hands together. He'd fully committed himself to the cause, and he was ready to put a plan in motion. Excellent. Let's get cooking, shall we?
Very well.
You'll have to retrieve the ingredients from your house since I don't have anything myself. Kitchen is fully outfitted, however, so you don't need to bring any equipment. If you want to take care of the chaise toy, I can begin preparing the utensils and such. I'll leave the front door unlocked, so feel free to let yourself in when you're ready. I don't know what that means unless it means mise en place, and that's just your prep work before you actually start cooking. Sure thing. And so, you briefly split up. Baxter briskly walked to his rented condo while you made your way speedily home. The night was still young, sort of, and so were you. What was a little harmless sleep deprivation between friends? What kind of person even got tired at 10 p.m. anyway? Not you, that was for sure. When you came in, you spied your mom sitting around the living room, and they were huddled up on the couch, luxurying in another's company after a day's work. Ma's head rested on her wife's shoulder, while Mom brushed fingers lightly through her hair. They could have been famous sculpture or painting sitting there. It was hard to witness your parents like that sometimes, not because it was embarrassing, although some people might have seen it that way. Your moms were a thing of tremendous gravity in your life. You were a fleeting. They had fledgling, they had fed and clothed and cleaned up after, and left for years and years, and soon you'd be taking flight. You'd be gone. Maybe that's why you found yourself glancing down at the hardwood floor side of your mom's. It was a lot to take in at 10 p.m., to be honest. The sound of the front door alerting them both to your presence, the house of the piece of art moved in alignment and turned. Welcome back, sweetie. Nice of you to drop by, James. Will you be staying with us long? A classic mom joke. You babbled about the whole Terry's organizing a last-minute party for Randy. Don't tell anyone. Been out all day. And by the way, I need to make cupcakes tonight situation. Not to mention the I'm going over to Baxter's house to do it. Do we have any ingredients I can use situation? There's a whole lot of situations to cover.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful, James. I'm sure Miranda will be delighted you're all working so hard. It's getting late though, and you've been going for most of the day. I was eyeing the wall clock and gave you a playful pout. Are you sure you don't want to call it a night and let your moms and me handle the baking? You shook your head and declined the offer. Miranda was your friend, and you'd given Terry your word that you'd take care of it. Besides, it wasn't as if your moms hadn't also worked today. Ma's tiny frown deepened, so disappointed not to be allowed to baby you, but it was all in good humor.
Fine.
All right, we won't push it, so long as you're sure Baxter's okay with you wreaking havoc with his immaculate kitchen. Ma let out an unbridled snort. He's a teenager living on his own, Pam. How immaculate could that kitchen be? You opened your mouth to defend Baxter and all of the teenagers before realizing it hardly counted if the only reason he had a clean kitchen was he never used it in the first place. If his tone earlier was anything to go by, he probably even thanked you for making a mess. It brightens up the place. You didn't say any of this to your moms, though. You made it clear to them that Baxter had assured you it was okay. It was his idea to begin with, after all. He'd been insisting on helping, and certain other people you could mention. This mollified your parents, though they teased they were acting entirely out of consideration of your temporary neighbor. Too bad Baxter Ward had out-considered them already.
I understand.
I understand. You'll handle it like grown-ups you are. At least let us help you gather ingredients together before you go. Pam, don't you think you could get
Sure
the
thing.
arty on it? Mom had headed towards the kitchen and began pulling things out of cupboards. Your mom and I actually have leftover boxes of chocolate cake mix from, I forgot what it was for now. But you're welcome to take it all, honey. That would save you some time. The frosting will have to be made fresh, but I always find that's the easiest part. And, we also have Mom's arms shot out from behind the fridge. We're clutching a large box of cream cheese. She placed it next to a row of bright red boxes of cake mix, half a dozen eggs on the counter. You should take some extra muffin tins too, just in case. If Baxter's oven is big enough, he can make multiple batches at once instead of doing it in stages. He might not need it, but being prepared never hurt anybody. Here, Mom paused, a thoughtful look on her face. Unless you were making a plan to, say, assassinate someone, then your preparations would be designed to. Pamela, the muffin tins. Right, muffin tins. We have 2 you can take along. Cupcake liners too. Well, they were meant to only help. Your mom did all the work of getting the supplies, and soon you found yourself ready to head over to Baxter's condo. They kissed you one on either cheek and shooed you enthusiastically out the door, hurried across the street, lugging your cargo in 2 large grocery store brand totes. Once up the front steps to Baxter's house, you gingerly rearranged things so you were able to grab the doorknob. As promised, Baxter had left it unlocked, a panel of light spreading over your feet. Sealing yourself in preparations for the last stretch of the intermittent of the day, you gripped the bag handles tighter and stepped inside. Ugh! This is a long day. But you know what? It'll be worth it. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the videos I'm making. Remember to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what's next. I won't take up any more of your time. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!